You feel that weight off your shoulder. I mean, FC Cincinnati gets a 1-0 win like the good old days. Boy, it's been a while since we've seen a old-fashioned duke it out 1-0 style after these wild matches of the last month or so. Miles Robinson, Matt Miazga, Nick Hagland, all still out, but FC Cincinnati find a way. I mean, still, I think overall, most fans would admit this was a scary one, and I look forward to breaking it down with my three co-hosts. I'm joined tonight by Brian Weigel, Jason Ashcraft, and my new co-host, Bill Taylor, back for his second ever show. So we're excited about that. I'm Boston Brazel. You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the podcast that has been around since 2016 to talk about your favorite team. And also, we've been covering a lot of other teams here in the Queen City. If you check out our website, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, try to spread the love around a little bit. FCC2, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the great season they're having as well. So stay tuned tonight. We've got all kinds of great things to talk about. We're going to dive in. I'm going to introduce my guests, and we'll just jump right into best and worst. We will start with you, Jason Ashcraft. Welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks. I'm watching Weston McKennie's final match in USMNT before joining the Orange and Blue. So if I get a little distracted,
I thought you were just going to say his final show or final game ever, because he doesn't go if they're he's an MLS player.
Well, there goes all the U.S. men national team fans only.
I mean, he needs to be banned for life if he joins MLS. Yeah.
Yeah, we poked fun about that last week. I think it was.
Oh, don't worry, I'm coming up. I'm coming back again with it because I didn't get my say.
It hasn't gone away, so it's still a very relevant topic. I even saw more memes and jokes online today about it. So it's not good until Weston says I am picking this other team. It'll be a hot topic, I think. Well, all right, Jason, give me your best and worst of the week.
Oh boy, I didn't look at the rundown until just now, so I'm going to try not to steal anybody.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you.
I've been very busy today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My best. I said it last time I was on. Good teams find ways to win, and this was another example of that. People are stepping up when they need to step up. You got Luca stepping up and becoming a star. We'll talk about that later. You've got a back line held together by hopes and dreams, and they played well. And I went into this game thinking, of course, this is a trap game, 100 degrees and humid Dallas. There's no way we're coming out of this with better than a 0-0 draw. And the team found a way to do it. And that's what they're going to have to do the rest of the season. My worst, someone already took it. So I will say my worst was that my poor man, Dotto, just couldn't buy a goal to save his life. The guy looked really good, played a really good game, just couldn't get it between the pipes. So, that was my worst. Overall, pretty decent game.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if it's just the youth or nerves or whatever, but someday there's going to be some composure there, and he's going to be a scary character, I hope. I hope, indeed.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, you're next up. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I would say relaxed, but I'm still kind of recovering from the topsy-turvy vacation we were on.
That's right. You abandoned us for 2 weeks. You better have had fun.
Tropical Storm Alberto. Thank you very much. No, it's exciting to be here and sitting down with my family watching FCC again. It's been like 3 or 4 games since we've actually been able to watch him, because it's probably the longest break I've had between actually watching, heavily FCC games. So just a forewarning, everybody listening or watching, a lot of us have the USA game on the our second screen over here. So if we're a little distracted or have a freak reaction, I apologize. Best of the week, I think, is going to be the play of Yuya Kubo and Pavel Buka. I think Pavel is leading the team in minutes so far this season. He's locking it down. Yes, there's some topsy-turvy moments between those two, but overall, their emergency defending was great. I think they limited a exceptional amount of chances. I think they, of course, could have done better. The ball still got into the final third a little bit more than I would have liked. But overall, I think they did an admirable job, filling in for the suspended Obi Woboda and injured Malik Pinto. I think the worst of my week, outside of our atrocious refereeing again, had to be this is like video game night at Dallas. What AA baseball MLS Gen 1 crap was that. Playing Mario sound effects when they were doing substitutions.
Yeah.
At least you could have done
Listen
like
to it.
at least you could have done like the coin sound or something when they scored a goal versus subbing. And I'm more offended because you know the do 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 when Mario dies, they should have played it at the end of the game. They copped out. They were cowards. They copped out. When their team died, they failed to do the right sound effect. I think they need to be reevaluated. That and I hate bringing this up, but Brian McBride as a broadcaster needs to retire tomorrow. That was some of the most. It can't get worse, but actually no, it could. Brian McBride was on, so yes, it was probably the worst broadcast I think I've been
They weren't very good.
watched. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But great name, horrible broadcaster.
That Mario timing was not always good, by the way. There was like a missed goal on their part, and they did it, but there's like it was for the substitution. But I was like, why are they playing
it? I mean, you just look at like it looked like baseball outfield signs across that one far side of the stadium. Like that building just looks so crappy to watch a game in compared to all these newer MLS stadiums, and for such a big important
Hall
market.
of Fame is there
for a big important market. Those guys need like the Hunts. You know, these guys own the Chiefs, which is the if we're watching, you know, right now it's in Arrowhead. This is the most painful TV angle I think I've ever seen. But for such a rich family with history, they really need to up their game on their MLS stadium side.
I did see someone that liked the open space, and they were like, "But yeah, they don't have stands there where we have stands." So
It's a big stage.
It's historic Crew Stadium.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And Crew Stadium didn't have a stage when it first opened. So
yeah, but they did. The historic Crew Stadium, even updated, still had that big under area with porta potties and whatnot. Yeah, it was kind of a weird vibe. All right, yeah, that's a good shout though, Brian. I can see it. All right, and that just leaves Bill joining us for a second ever show. Glad to have you back.
Just Bill.
Yeah, right. I love it. Just Bill.
Everybody was clamoring. So that's.
Hey, I heard great things. I heard great things, pal. I'm proud. When people reach out to me, I'm proud of you, bud. I got a lot of stake with you.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Got a lot of positive feedback, so I really love it. That's great.
Do you think it's because Brian and I are just making stuff up and you actually know what you're talking about? Is that
why? I think it's because I'm the only one that has to wear glasses to be able to see the computer screen. So there's a lot of people with vision issues out there.
Hey, you don't know my font size on my screen. You don't see how much I've got this zoomed in.
So as we go to the best. So the last time I was on, I was kind of mentioning the Kip Keller phenom, right? 13 appearances with Austin before coming to us, 10 appearances with us already.
That's wild.
I mean, this is a young kid, 23 years old, and very, in my opinion, after the last match, knock on wood, very capable at center back. Yeah, I think he was out of position a couple of times, but not nearly as bad as that, the previous match against New England, who the center back will remain nameless. So once again, Noonan admitted he got the lineup wrong at New England defensively. I know the extra rest definitely helped Kip Keller with that hamstring. His legs showed it at the end of the match, not being able to go a full 100 minutes at that time. So a little conditioning, a little strengthening. It's also an issue with Assad, but we can get into that later. And then I also, the clean sheet by Celentano. So I'm going to go with two bests. A couple of his saves were definitely lifesavers. We were looking at, a 1-1 draw or a 2-1 defeat if Celentano's not in the net. And, of course, the worst, I just have to say shots on frame. And I am a big proponent of, if you can't get the shot on frame, then maybe somebody else needs to have the shot. Maybe it's an assist opportunity. I don't mind going for it from 50 yards out. I mean, I get it. There's opportunity there. But to miss the wider open nets, Kubo has shown moments of brilliance with some of his touches. Orellano, maybe not so much the last game, even though he was the savior, right? So in goalkeeping, we always called it the God or GOAT syndrome. luckily he did put one in the back of the net, and he becomes the god of the game. And not the GOAT, not meaning greatest of all time, but a literal GOAT. If you let, if Celentano lets one or two in. So goalkeeping is tough. That I will say.
Are you giving Powell a pass? Because I stood up out of my chair and said, "This is the game. It's finally gonna happen." He had that break, and it was Powell's moment. But he was Elvis Powell again. So.
And there's and
He's Elvis Powell.
I look forward to a team like DC Wednesday night, right? I mean, it's July 3rd. A lot of people are going to be watching from Cincinnati. A lot of FC fans are going to be watching the match, probably celebrating a little bit. It's a trap, right? You're coming off a 1-0 victory. It definitely looks like a trap game to me. DC's not good. I mean, they're just not. We're better than them almost in every line category. They do exceed us in red cards, 5 to our 2. So they're winning the category we don't want to win.
Yeah,
I don't want them to look forward to Miami. I don't want them to overlook this game Wednesday night.
There ain't no shot that Lucho Costa is allowing that to happen. It looked like he was looking past Dallas this weekend.
So I'm gonna say, dude, if some miracle occurs and we can come out with 4 points over the next 2, I'd be more than satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sure. I think what's just truly wild is how good of a team FC Cincinnati is on the road. It's like they get more hyped for being away than they do
absolutely.
at TQL Stadium. And I can't figure it out, but it just seems like their best performances always seem to be on the road. I do wonder.
Didn't I read a tweet that FC Cincinnati's already exceeded their road points from last year?
I would believe it. They are by far and away the best.
Yeah, I mean it's some insane amount of points they've gotten on the road this year.
So you're saying we're going to have to come back to the field with road losses later on?
I'm saying giving up the first 4 spots in the Supporter Shield might not be a bad thing. No, that's a joke. I want a home playoff game, but no, it is weird in a sport that is statistically the highest home field advantage sport out of all major American sports that our team is defying the odds in every way, shape, or form.
Unless you're the U.S. men's national team.
I think we're just heavily disciplined in a way that I can't quite fathom. And maybe that discipline shakes a little bit at home. They get a little nervous in front of the home fans. I don't know. I wish I could figure it out.
In the national team's defense, we're the only country really that doesn't have a national stadium. So like England always plays at Wembley. Mexico always plays at Azteca, usually when they're home, like in Mexico. We just don't do that here. We move them around.
I think I misspoke. I said it's coming. What's coming is the Atlanta practice facility, right?
Boston, man.
I wouldn't mind. Give them a home field in Ohio. They'll win every game. The best and worst from you guys, Justin Blair with a good shout out. He said that there are 2 more FC Cincinnati All-Stars, 6 total now for the orange and blue. I think he's skipping over Lucho Costa there because he counts from last year. Worst, Miami also keeps picking up points without Messi. Jay said his best is Noonan admitting he got the backline wrong. Shout out, also coming from our team there. Glad to see the accountability. Worst, Miami looming when we are less than 100%. Clifford's best, I was wrong. I thought we'd lose. I mean, hey, you want to talk about accountability, Clifford? Shout out right there. Admitting your doubts and fears right there in the quotes. Worst, no one will ever recognize Kubo enough. I mean, did you listen to this show when Kubo got his hat trick? It was like the Kubo Gus show. I was trying to change the topic off of Kubo because these guys wouldn't stop talking about what a great player he was. No, I admit he definitely is able to adapt and help out, but wouldn't mind seeing another hat trick just to justify your point. All right. I appreciate your best and worst. Thanks for plopping those in on the chat. I see we have a lot of people also following the USA game. I guess I'm going to forego my best and worst because I want you guys to educate me. What's the scenarios tonight for the United States men's team? I know if we lose, we're out.
Just
If we
gotta
win, are we in?
win. You basically have to win, and then, or if we draw, I think Bolivia has to beat Costa Rica by a decent amount. Is that right?
I think so.
Couple. I don't know.
Yeah, win and you're in. That's basically it.
And does GGG lose his job if we don't make it?
I've said this for months that it's semifinal or bust.
Okay.
If you want to be a credible program, it's semifinal or bust.
I would not be. Actually, I would be surprised if he were to lose his job at this point. After all of the, I mean, I hope we win, but after all of the stuff that happened before with him losing it and then getting it back,
Yeah.
I would be very, very surprised if he actually loses his job.
Did I not say Panama? I swore I said Panama, but I'm getting corrected in the chat here.
You said Costa Rica.
Did I really?
You did.
Yeah,
but
Ghost
we're
of,
not pointing that
Ghost
out.
of Alan Cruz got me there.
All right, well, let's dive into this match, man. FC Cincinnati win 1-0 in Dallas, pulling off another road win with a makeshift back line. I think there were a lot of fans that wouldn't have, they would have forgiven FCC if they walked away with even a point here. Noonan, I do like these takes. Noonan admitted that maybe the New England match wasn't the best layout. He fixed it here. He put 2 center backs in, his only 2 main center backs left, and it seemed to kind of sturdy the back line. But let's be honest, there were chances. There were chances for Dallas. It wasn't like I will caution the fan base. I saw a lot of takes that were like FC Cincinnati's figured it out. They fixed the defense. Everything's fine. That's not what I saw.
Dallas got the ball into the final third in the penalty area more than I think our previous 2 games combined, or is very close. Statistically, yeah, we were definitely letting them get. We were was it the proverbial bend but not break?
Yeah,
and I think that's a good point. The midfield was recovering back on defense, but transition. I mean, quite frankly, as it's been all year, transition's been an issue. And remember, DC and I've kind of lumped Dallas and them in the same boat. Both are not very strong teams, and they definitely had plenty of opportunity to win. I'm sure that their fan base, from what I heard, certainly thought that they should have won that match.
I mean, they certainly, those youngsters got the balls in some dangerous places, and whether if it's a poke here, a good clearance there, I think FCC did very well. I do want to say, like I mentioned earlier, it was nervy with Kubo and Buka, but they settled in 30 minutes in, and then the last 20 minutes of the game, they killed that game off and did very well getting back to balls and limiting very, very good chances.
I think the key was, though, I think we're exaggerating how many good chances Dallas had. They had 16 shots.
1 point.
To FC Cincinnati 6, but I'm looking on FOTMob right now. It only says that they had 1 big chance.
Yeah, 1 XG.
And so if they're firing from 50 yards out and they're missing, by
they weren't firing. Feet. They weren't firing from that far out, but they still got the ball into the penalty position, or had a lot of progressive carries in the penalty area.
Yeah.
Which I think if they would have had some better guys, that's why I'm a little nervous about Miami coming in. I'm not so concerned about DC United. They're gonna be missing a ton of firepower, and they like to bunker in spring, which actually could hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's gonna be a big test for against Miami.
Yeah, no, I'm with Brian. I think we played like a top team missing major pieces, and they played like a 14th place team
missing major pieces.
Yeah, also missing major pieces. If they even had Jesus in there, I think they win or at least draw that game, because they had the ball so much. They just didn't have any chance creators, or they did have one that really should have, but we did too, though. We had 1 or 2 goals that really should have also been goals, and they did as well.
Hey, do you have the XG for Alvis Powell's shot? I want to know that.
I do too.
Know that.
I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah, we'll have Jason pull that, because I
We were
think if
1.1
Elvis, I think if
XG.
Elvis would have kept, if he would have kept going, he would even had a better shotty. But yeah, it's just Powell's gonna do Powell things. I shouldn't have got my hopes up. I should have just sat there. Honestly, Powell could have a run at the goal, where the goalkeeper came way out, like one of those end of the game plays, and he's not even there. It's an open net and Elvis Powell, and I swear to God that goal does not go in.
Zero.
I'll put money.
I guess it's 0.55.
Oh my Lord, that's half our XG for the game.
On that
That's
show.
wild. So real quick, we
His
talked about
little middle name is Elvis, by the way. Didn't know that.
So is Bill's. That's wild. Bill, speaking, you were talking about Assad earlier. What did
Yes.
you make of the wingbacks, and especially starting Assad there on the left versus putting Luca over on the left?
I mean, I think it's bold, right? I mean, you got to see what you got in different spots, who can play where, when. Dallas was a perfect opportunity, I think, to do that. I think DC presents some opportunity for some switches in the lineup. I think you have to anchor it through the middle. So, you're going to see Acosta. You're going to see, where's Yedlin going to, I have no idea where Yedlin's going to play.
I think he still has to play a right center back.
He does.
Right. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out. Right. I mean, we're going to find out in a little bit over a day. So, and then I did want to give a shout out to Kevin that put something in chat. If you want to go to a Wednesday game, Kevin, just hit me up on X. I'll make sure you get a couple of tickets.
That's nice of you.
Yeah. That's
Looks
awesome.
like Panama's up
All right, there you
in
go.
their game.
Anybody else? Anybody else wants tickets? Bill Taylor's your guy. Go ahead.
The thing that's things that are kind of getting me a little nervous is how long our guys are going to be able to last. I mean, we've seen routinely Kip Keller can't go 75 minutes. Assad can't go. If we're having Luca do all this crazy offensive work, he's going to get gassed over 3 games in 8 days. And there's a little warning signs where I think Miami might be able to take advantage. Of course, they play in Charlotte Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes. But I do agree. I think you might see a little change. Maybe Brett Halsey gets some time on that left or right, either way. Scares me a little bit. He's a guy where it's kind of surprised me that he hasn't played a little bit more. Assad's kind of taken over that first backup role, but then you see it later in that match when we're trying to cut off that game, and Halsey, I'm like, don't turn the ball over, Halsey. Don't turn the ball over, Halsey. And it's cheap and it leads to a break. And those are little things versus like Miami, they're going to punish us for.
Well, Halsey came out of the gate looking confident, and now
versus Jamaican teams.
Yeah, I just feel like the confidence that I saw early on is dwindled a little bit, and that's big. That's my biggest concern with them. But honestly, how do you justify ever moving Luca back to the left side of the field? I
think
you put Yedlin back on the right side.
Yeah, and part of his game is he plays inverted.
Good, though.
Like, yeah, he likes to play inverted from everything I've read about him. So I think it's a great tool to have in the toolbox, because last year Barrial could not move from the left side. You couldn't invert at any point. And the fact that Yedlin and Orellano are both able to do that, it adds another nice little look that you can put out there.
So, Jason, your theory is, hey, if it's not working out at any point in the match, just go ahead and swap them mid-match.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, we've seen that throughout the year, though, where we didn't, like, substitute anybody, but where Yedlin and Orellano would invert on each other. Maybe not for, like, long periods of time, but Luca has been given free reign, I think, to drift if he feels like there's an opportunity there.
Yeah. All right. Before I forget, I need to give a shout out to our good friends at Apollo Home. If you have not had your AC inspected yet this summer, what are you waiting on? Call Apollo. They handle HVAC, plumbing, electrical needs. Give them a call or book online at apollohome.com. And we thank them again for being our 2024 sponsors. All right. You guys brought it up at the top of the show. We got to talk a little bit about Dado. I was confident. He was playing aggressive, very similar to the Brett Halsey. I think he was better at the beginning of the season, and And I don't know if it's the competition on the pitch or what, but it just seems like there's been a little bit of a falling off there. Or maybe just the youth is starting to show through. Can Dado figure it out, or are we better off hitting the summer transfer window and making sure he's only a backup option?
I think Dado's playing out of position right now, is because you're asking him to be a kind of a center forward, and he's more of a Lucho backup, such as it is, than anything. So that would be a little taxing on anybody, I think.
So are you a Bupenza over Dado center forward guy?
No.
It's okay to be. I mean, you got a DP on the bench right now.
Bupenza last year when he arrived, I've kind of decided that I'm off the Bupenza. I'm off the Boop train.
Oh, there's got to be one of you. There's got to be one of you that's like, this is the best decision today.
Noonan was forced to put him in the game. Any other scenario, he doesn't see the field the rest of the season. Transfer window, in my opinion, transfer window all the way.
So you might not like this take, but I think Dado is there to press and to push the defenders to make mistakes, not necessarily to score as many of these chances. You put Acosta and Kelsey a little bit deeper in the pressing scenarios, almost like wingers, and you hope that maybe they can clean something up behind them. The speed of the play is still a little fast for Dado. I think he is growing. He seems to have the trust of Lucho, which to me means a lot. But he's a young kid. In certain scenarios, we need somebody to do this to especially keep the other two guys a little bit rested. I do want to see Bupenza play and start one of these next two games. Corey Baird's back in the full group, so I think Dado's time will probably diminish a little bit. But Dado for 15 minutes or a spot start in midweek games is fine with me. And I think, was it Kimi Ordonez? Like, he's fulfilling that Kimi role that we always hoped and doing very well.
Did I really just hear you say Bupenza get a start? Did I really hear that?
If Bupenza
have to.
There,
you want to kill Yakubo, who just ran the most mileage of anybody this past week in 100-degree weather. So, I mean, you're gonna have to.
If Bupenza gets a hat trick versus DC, the trade value is.
I will eat the hat. Okay,
here's the thing.
I will eat the hat.
Here's the thing, though, is Bupenza is actually not a bad matchup versus DC because he's technical. He can create his own chances, and versus a team that's pretty bunkered like DC, I wouldn't mind having him in there and even giving Dado or Kelsey a little bit of a breather. I think his skill set matches up. Now, I know he's on he's
on the S list, man.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Also, like, he's still a talented player. You can't take that away from him. He needs his form back. And I still, as I said, beginning of the year, if we get a Bupenza clicking at the right time, it still gets me excited.
I'll go and say you can't fix stupid.
Well, he's not going to do anything with 2 minutes to play.
You don't want him to swing and break somebody's nose, or
he's got 2 matches with 2 minutes.
Lose his mind. Well, there's a reason for that. There's an absolute reason. The Bupenza of last year is you can't even compare the two. There's too much difference in the level of play. The level of competition, I mean, if you want to go to Dado, it's confidence. The younger guys just need some time to gain some confidence. And I agree, DC is a great spot for it, and you do want to save some legs against Miami, but you can't drop a game that you should win. I mean, it doesn't do us any good to lose to DC and beat Miami. It really does us no good. We need the 3 from DC.
As a tubby guy, I'm not liking the fat shaming I'm seeing in the Facebook chat. So there's that, Clifford. But my thing with Bupenza was the past couple times he's been on the pitch, he doesn't, and granted, it's substitution time, it's garbage time, but he doesn't seem to be putting forth the kind of effort that we know he is capable.
He looked fine last week. He just didn't look great this week.
I don't know if he even really looked fine last week.
I don't know how you judge. I don't know how you
Long
judge
point.
one way or another off 2 minutes.
I mean, yeah, it's a very small sample size, but like he's and I think the biggest thing is this is Lucho's team, and Bupenza is a very good player, but I don't think he's a very good player with Lucho. And there, as much as I don't like that anyone would put maybe their own personal issues above the good of the team, I think that Lucho doesn't trust him, and Boop just he goes into business for himself every now and then. So, yeah, I don't think we see him in a starting role until he's gone.
You guys are beating up. You guys are beating up on the broadcasters, but did you catch the during the match broadcaster thing where they said Kevin Kelsey has been working closely, asking Acosta like what he needs to do, how he can benefit? I thought that was pretty cool because you got a designated player there, dying to learn from Acosta. And Jason, to your point, that is the difference between Bupenza and Kevin Kelsey is a willingness to learn and to grow from an MVP.
There's no language barrier either. I don't know if Boop speaks Spanish, but there's that. But one thing speaking of Kelsey that I noticed in this match, he was really good at hold up play, and dude, for being as tall as he is good with his feet.
Yeah.
There were a couple times where he was, like Jonah used to say on Knifey Line, he was styling on him. There were a couple times where the ball went to his feet and my man was getting out of double teams and able to distribute. And that's something that I think for a guy his size is really impressed me.
Did something happen in the game? You're freaking out there for a second, Brian.
Yeah. So apparently, somehow this ref is being worse than the ref for New York this weekend. But Tim Ream cleared a ball off the line, so it was good. It was scary. They should have scored.
This was the big we lost Obi match, and I swore before the game we were going to lose because everybody said there's no way we could possibly play without Obi. How did we do? What's the judge? What's the jury? Like in the midfield without Wobodo, did we make it out okay? Was Kubo a fair?
Boston didn't listen to me at all the first 30 minutes. Bend not break, baby.
I want a wider view. I did see that Kubo was by far the biggest heat map and ran the most miles out of all the FC Cincinnati players. So I mean, he put in a shift. We know that. But I mean,
I think you have to look at the game as a whole and what Noonan's motivation was. I think 1-0 was his plan. Midfield played very deep throughout. They didn't really press forward. They kind of left that to the front line. A lot of balls played into tight spaces at times, but the midfield was definitely there, in my opinion, to support the defense more than to support the offense in that game. I expect the same Wednesday.
I even think you saw a little bit of like Lucho being a little less risk averse
and defensive. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was wondering where he was for half that game.
Well, I think the one thing I loved, and you saw some of these adjustments being made, and I'm hoping Coach will talk about it in his podcast to a little bit greater detail. But you saw as soon as that first water break happened, there was some tactical shifts with the squad. There's I think the last 15 minutes of the first half, and then the first 10 to 12 minutes of the second half. We had our way through the midfield. They were switching the attack a little bit better, starting to generate a little bit more chances through that midfield. Now we couldn't sustain it, unfortunately, through the second half. But if we can keep Kubo and Pavel on the ball, giving us a little bit more patience for teams that are going to be a little bit more sexier on the ball, like Miami. I think that will help us, minimize their chances and improve upon it, because we're going to be without Obi again. He's on yellow card suspension. So is Luca. So is Murphy. So we could be in a lot of trouble here soon. We'll see. But yeah, I think they did fine. I would just say, we need to watch out on how much we're allowing teams to dribble and pass into that space behind them in front of the center backs.
Just one at a time, Brian. They just get them one at a time, and we'll be all right.
No, I wanted to pull Lucho and get some of them suspension warnings taken away by good behavior.
Now, can we talk just a second about hydration breaks and how they're managed and how the clock's managed with it?
Go for it.
Obviously, we need hydration breaks, right? But it doesn't. I watch multiple games and I don't ever see any consistency to the length of the hydration break and the minutes added on in extra time.
That's why they should stop the clock.
Okay, I mean, great point, right? Great point. Why? I mean, I get the MLS, I get international play, I get the clock runs. Doesn't matter if there's somebody lying, seriously injured, Miazga on the field. The clock's going to continue to run. They'll add minutes at the referee, at the center official's discretion. But a hydration break is a set period of time. Why do we either not stop the clock or we time it and be like, okay, we're adding on that time as extra time and all the rest extra time just gets included? I mean, 100-minute matches, I'm waiting for the 120-minute match in regular time.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. When it gets to be super long, I do think it's kind of ridiculous. But as long as it's truly, I guess, 2 45-minute halves, it's fine. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. If you have a water break and you have a couple goals, it's like, boom, you're right, 10 minutes flat or more.
Max. Yeah, max.
Yeah, I've always advocated, because we have the technology, stopping the clock on every whistle, but that would be a bridge too far for, I think, 99%.
Definitely too far. Yeah, definitely too far.
This isn't college, Jason. No free substitutions.
No, it's not that. You have the whistle technology that they use in basketball that literally stops the clock, precision timing, and then the referee, you'll see them in college, they'll tap a little thing on their belt. We could use this in soccer, get rid of stoppage time. It's arbitrary. It would eliminate time wasting. And I'm not saying just end at 0. Like, let them finish the play out like they do in American football. But yeah, we've moved past the days of a man with a curly mustache holding a stopwatch to.
You're not going to ruin my 100-year-old game.
You're insane. You're insane.
And baseball should also have ties. Anyway.
Fire.
He's just racking up the enemies.
All right.
Listening.
Let's wrap up this game.
All right, good point. All right. No, overall, I think we've touched on the majority of it. FC Cincinnati do well, survive. Just depends on who you listen to. I don't even think we have a general consensus here among the four of us on exactly how this match went down. Maybe DC will help us decide that, and we'll turn the page there. Before I do, though, we want to give a big thank you to Beyond Exercise, the local physical and therapy and fitness business that helps people get active and stay active. They've helped Nick Haglund. They help Brandon Vasquez every time he comes back to Cincinnati with his physical therapy and strength training needs. Ask the fellows at Beyond Exercise about their ACL injury prevention screen, which is piloted with both Nick and Brandon. Please learn more at gobeyondexercise.com. You can also get in touch with us at Cincy Soccer Talk on Twitter. Email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. We love to hear from you guys. If you happen to not watch the show live and hear your name in our chat as we think something you typed is hilarious or makes us laugh off screen, then that's where to go. If you're a podcast listener like most of you are, email us and let us know what you want to hear. Talk about. All right, let's we got two matches this week. FC Cincinnati play at DC United. It's an away game, so of course we will win. There's no doubt about that. And then we play home versus Miami on Saturday. That one is a little bit more up in the air. Very confusing. As Bryan mentioned earlier in the show, we get a little bit of help as Baird comes back from injury, it looks like, and Haglund goes under for surgery. Some people would say that's helpful. Bryan, what's the big scoop with DC? Do you think that it's as easy as the standings would say?
Well, so they have Troy Lesane as their head coach now, so you might see a little bit of a tactical similarities of the Red Bull days where some pressing, but realistically this year they've been a little bit more compact. Of course, they're going to be without two of their better offensive players in Christian Benteke and Christian Jome, who got a red card this weekend. I think they only fielded like 5 outfield players on their bench this past weekend, and they might be less than that midweek. So we'll see what happens. But they did tie the Red Bulls 2-2. So that's an impressive result, being down a man. I see a slog upcoming for this game. I think it's going to be very difficult to break these guys down. But fortunately, I think Lucha has a very good track record of scoring goals against DC. So I'm looking for a little, home cooking, or, home away from home cooking for Lucho.
Oh, I didn't even put that together. Good shout out.
I mean, he does have the U.S. Capitol building tattooed on his back of his neck. At least I think that's what it is.
I think he has a lot.
And do we remember our last match against DC? I mean, I know we weren't scoring a lot of goals.
Remind me.
1-0. Tight. Very tight. Like I said, the game's got all the makings of a trap. The makings of a trap.
Sure. But as Brian said, DC is missing some players. Does that?
And they're awful. Yeah, and they're awful.
Does that at least alleviate your fears that we're missing?
Yeah.
We're missing players. They're missing players. You at least feel better that it's even.
Yeah, just like Dallas this weekend. They're clearly not going to be full strength. We're not going to be full strength. So it's going to be needing to rely on our quality of players like Lucho and Luca and Kelsey. They do play a 3-man back line, so I'm interested to see how we attack that. Obi's going to be with fresh legs. I mean, I think there's a lot of really optimal things on our end. This should be a game that we come away with at least a point.
Jay asking, will we ever get extra roster relief for Miazga and Hags?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we get a senior roster spot and a good chunk of change
but it's not the summer window, right? Like they haven't moved anybody up.
I think
like I thought.
I'm assuming it's percentage off of how many games he has or hasn't played. So that's a lot of GAM. Is that right, Jay? I'm assuming, but that's a lot of GAM and a lot of salary budget that we're going to have opened up, and whether it's a loan or future signing, I think we have room to go and get a somewhat decent player or two, and we already had some space.
I think, and is it Ken that does the big spreadsheet?
Yeah.
He could correct me, but I think it's like for like. So like if you lose a senior season ending injury, you get, not only do you get that roster spot, but also that cap hit doesn't affect you to the rest of the year. They kind of just waive that off, so you can then go out and get another like for like player, and pay them the same amount, and it's not going to affect your cap.
Yeah, it's half a hit, so some relief.
But the player has to be there, right? So somebody has to be available in order to do that. Some other team has to be willing, or somebody has to be willing to loan or transfer. There's a lot of ifs.
I think, and I want to say Chris Albright said in an interview with Laurel, maybe, or Pat, he mentioned that they had a backup plan for one of the center, for one of the positions. So if you now have this extra space, you could maybe go out in the transfer window, get another, half season loan from another team around the world, or there's going to be some people out there on a free who, much as I like Matt Miazga, are pretty high quality.
I get it.
The difference between soccer is you have an entire planet's worth of players.
Yeah, I'm gonna read you guys the MLS rules in brevity, because it's several paragraphs, but essentially, fortunately, the injured player must be placed on the season-ending injury list prior to the opening of the secondary transfer window. So, I guess Matt got injured at appropriate time. And the salary budget charge of said replacement player must not be more than the player who suffered the season-ending injury. So, say if an injured player placed on the season-ending injury list is a DP, you can replace him with a DP level player. So, and the replacement players charge will not be charged against the budget. So yeah, it's kind of what Jason said. We have a lot of money to go sign somebody, even if it's for a half or.
So as long as he gets paid less than Miazga, is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
Equal to.
Same as or less, yeah.
And that's a good chunk of change.
Okay.
So I say we call up Wolves again and say, hey, do you
Or
guys
Sun.
have another center back who maybe needs to come and get some minutes in the rest of the season? Send him down. Give us another Yerson.
And I think it's great that you listen to interviews for an assistant coach. I think that's impressive. That is impressive.
Do you think Yerson's out of a price range now?
Oh, at this point, absolutely.
But you know what's funny, Jason, is you talked about that interview, and I listened to that interview as well. But what is Chris Albright gonna say when a reporter asks them, "Hey, do you have a backup for X position if they go down?" Like, who's gonna be like, "No, I never."
That would be
planned for that."
hilarious.
That was going to be my point. That was going to be my point. Yeah, who in their right mind would say that?
He's gonna be like, "Yeah, we plan for everything. Don't worry." And then he gets on his phone and is like, "Guys, find me a center back now."
But the thing is, though, unlike had a previous GM said it, I actually believe Albright does have. He's probably got a little depth chart up in his office of people he's looking at right now.
Yeah,
He's looking at center backs from Turkey.
I do think that there's probably a plan, but you cannot tell me that Chris Albright was actually wanting to get a center back this summer window. Like, he had his eyes on different prizes.
No, but we also only have Miles for one season. So maybe there's a guy out there who he thought could maybe come in next year to replace Robinson, because I don't expect Robinson to be back next year if he's able to go to Europe. So maybe there's a guy, he's like, hey, maybe we can get this person, because MLS only does loans with the option to buy, I think is the rule. So maybe there's somebody who's like, let's get him in for a half a season and we're just going to pick him up next season in case, Miles moves on. This
Uruguay-USA match is a rock fight. Freaking Scally just got absolutely annihilated. There's been like 5 injuries so far. This is wild.
Where is Rupesh tonight? Because he always gives us such a hard time anytime we mention a single player from Inter Miami. And it's finally actually time that we are justified to talk about Inter Miami. And I had this whole spiel aimed right at that guy for all the crap he always gives us. And he's nowhere to be found. So, Rupesh, you're missing the Inter Miami episode. Maybe that's on purpose, but it is finally time to talk about, can FC Cincinnati hang with the pink team in their first battle? I wish so badly we had center backs, because I wanted to see a fair duke out. Maybe it's okay. They don't have Messi. We don't have Miazga, and now it's all even. But what have you guys thought about Miami and their latest run of form without Messi, without Suarez? Jordi Alba's out there banging in goals, and they have got some young players absolutely shining. Is Miami the real deal, Messi or not?
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't need him. I think they'd be challenging for the Shield without him. Yeah, I think he's exciting to watch. I mean, I got to be honest with you, going to the game Saturday night, I am going as big an FCC fan as I am. I'm going just as much to watch Inter Miami.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
Are you at least wearing the correct colors?
Yeah, correct. I will be wearing the correct colors, but they have not lost form. They continue to score seemingly at will. Defense is vulnerable, I'll give them that, but I mean, they really are a all around pretty solid at every position squad.
Yeah, right. I'm excited to see how we stack up against them, more specifically, Lucho and how he can handle, the constant pressure and needing to perform in a playoff style game. Unfortunately, I think there's always going to be this cloud hanging over us of, players missing and things like that. But it should be a great game, and we're lucky to see a good one at home, in July. So.
And no excuses, guys. No excuses. We've got a bunch, right? They've got a bunch. We've got a bunch. I mean, the game is the game.
Dude, I've seen refs make bogus calls against us. So yes, there's going to be that excuse and when I can whip it out.
It's been awful. That's been awful. I will agree. That has been horrible. But
I mean, it's at our house. It's not a 3-point game. It's a 6-point game.
It's well, I mean, you make a very good point. When I look at the overall MLS, I look at LA, I look at New York, I look at Ohio, and I look at Miami. That's my short list of contenders right now. And who's playing in best form?
Or Real Salt Lake.
Okay, well, yeah, of course you're going to say Real Salt Lake. I figured you'd homer that on home. They would be just outside they'd be number 7.
Jason just reminds us they exist until the lake dries up and kills everybody.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. So what are your thoughts on the Miami squad in ball movement defensively? Inside out, outside in. They seem to be masters at it. How do we defend that? How do we play against that?
No, you're asking about tactics. You're asking the wrong dude. No, I think, honestly, I think this is going to be a match where FC Cincinnati is going to have to control possession more than they're used to. If you look at, most of the matches we play, we're pretty even in possession, if not a little bit behind. I think with Miami, though, you need to be able to control the ball a little bit more than you do against some other teams. And I know that's like really cheap analysis. The good point is we do have Obi back, as Bryan mentioned. We've got our midfield the way we want it. And we should have. Is Yedlin back? Coming back? He is back, isn't he?
Yedlin's back.
Yeah.
Homie.
I'm having a rough day.
Yeah, sure. So
so you've got the wing backs the way you want them.
Bill, my thoughts on that is I remember in the games that we played them last year, towards the end of last year, how important our wing backs were and how much effort they had to do. Like Arias, going toe to toe with, I think it was Alba coming up that left side to his right. How much Barreal had to work getting back and forth. And that does worry me a little bit with the guys that we have out there right now. We'll see if it's the same team. I know they're set up quite differently with this group than they are with Messi. But our back line's going to be tested, and I could absolutely see us kind of resorting to a more conservative effort where we did with Miami, at least in the Open Cup game later on, where it was kind of like 3 offensive players versus, and we kept everybody else back. You'd have Barreal make a run here and there, but I'm just interested to see how conservative Noonan's going to go.
I'm going to say very, I think. I don't know how aggressive he's going to be in that game. Miami has an incredible ability to cross the ball extremely low in the offensive third, which would be our defensive third. And, once again, with our defensive lineup, is there vulnerability there? Absolutely. And I think I look at Kevin's comment about keeping the ball in Miami's third. I don't think that that's a possibility. I think games won or lost at midfield in this one.
That's pretty tough. And I think you're right. The last team to absolutely take Miami to town, even with Messi on the field, was Atlanta. And Atlanta did not have the ball in that game. They had a little bit of luck on their side, but they also were able to make the best of their midfield moments and just shove it down their throats. So I think they won that one 3-1, if I remember right. And I think that's our chance. You have an Obi out there, you got a Buka out there. That's where the game is won versus Miami. And you pass that ball forward to Acosta, let Acosta do Acosta things, but you're gonna have to steal it away. And that's my 2 cents. It's not worth much, but I'm with you, Bill. I don't think we can stop Miami from having the ball. I wish we could.
And we do well with possession, actually. Much better than DC. It's just where our minutes going to be played. Yeah. One question I got to get out of the way that's been bothering me since the beginning of the podcast. You only spoke about the upside with Bupenza minutes. Is there a legitimate downside to him getting on the field and looking just awful, or is he already at market low with the little he's done?
I don't see the downside because I think whoever else is in there, he's not replacing Kelsey. So it's not like for like. I mean, Bupenza's in there either for Kupo, Dado, or Santos, and none of those people are giving me like crazy vibes like we have to go with them. Like that'll be the game winner, is Santos is going to win this game for us. I mean, if Bupenza scores 0, Santos scores 0, who cares? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think Kubo's earned his minutes. I'll throw that in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's earned his time on the field as at least a 75-minute player. So
we're hearing a lot of chatter about.
I don't
just
disagree.
not match fit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that Kubo thing, but we can't keep killing these guys. We need to learn that lesson from last year's. We're going to have nobody left when it comes to the last 5 games of the season. So I'm okay. I don't think Bupenza's not a schmuck. I mean, he's still a good player. It's not like throwing Kimi Ordonez out there and praying for a thunder strike from God.
Hear me out. We Pat Noonan duct tapes Lucho to the bench on Wednesday, so he gets a day off.
Not gonna happen. Not in DC.
That way he's fit for Miami. That's the only way you're keeping him off.
I'm not afraid of that
was awesome.
Issue.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
The two matches Lucho would never sit for are these two.
Yes.
All right, Jason, I'm with you, man. Though I want him, the poor guy, to get a break. I think we can survive without Lucho on the pitch for 65 minutes. Maybe you'll get your wish and he won't start, but I doubt it. But we've all seen Lucho off the bench. It's incredible.
But Lucho has the ability to rest himself while on the field. I think if you watch him off the ball, he definitely has the ability to do the light jog, to kind of measure his breathing, and he knows he'll have it when he needs it. I mean, I've never seen him not have that extra gear when he actually calls for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I do think we see a little bit of Boop. I know everybody in our chat's is ripping him up for match fitness. I still think he's a professional that you can probably get at least a first half out of or a second half out of. He can play more than 2 minutes, guys. So we will see. It is. I don't think it's that crazy of a prediction to say.
Well, I can play more than 2 minutes. So I'm just saying. All right.
I don't know if I can. I'll be honest. Not at that pace that those guys have. But I think this is a fun week. DC United away, and then Inter Miami at home. This is a good week to be an FC Cincinnati fan. I think the soccer gods blessed us with that Dallas match. That's a really good team to run up against when you're missing most of your back line. Hopefully that can also pay dividends against DC, and we can move forward with Inter Miami. Let's get into your final thoughts before we jump out of here. If you guys want to tackle anything, we were gonna have a section called odds and ends, but we blew way past it.
Missed that one.
If you want to tackle anything in there in your final thoughts, now's your chance for review. But we'll throw it over to you, Bill. Thanks for being on for your second ever episode. We've enjoyed your commentary.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And the one thing I will say is there's as much action off the ball as on the ball when you're playing the game. So positioning, movement, runs, that's really what I'm looking at. That's really what I'm watching. And as long as FC has exceeded my expectations by a multiple of 10 this year, right? I didn't expect to be sitting this close to the lead any other season. We're probably in the top of the Eastern Conference. I think you're right. I think this is probably the week that I've looked forward to all year on the calendar for FC. And like I said, if we can come out with 4, I will be thrilled through the roof. I'm expecting a win Wednesday. And if we can hold on to a tie on Saturday, I would be more than pleased with that.
I thought you were going to tie Wednesday, win Saturday, but I'll take that, I guess. All right. Jason, we'll throw it to you. Give us your final thoughts or anything else you want to touch on.
Final thought, because I just saw it on Twitter a minute or two ago, and now I'm reading the article from W Deportes out of Mexico. Forgive my terrible Spanish. It looks like the Mexican Liga MX is looking to permanently drop Pro Rel. They suspended it back in 2020 because of the pandemic. It was a complete laughingstock of a system before they had it, and all I can say is do it. Do it. Come over to the dark side. Pro Rel is outdated and everybody should scrap it. Vive la Mexico.
Watch your club values soar. Join the MLS model. Do you guys, just a random thought, but do you guys believe that there'll be a league merger between Mexican and United States teams? There used to be a big belief in that, but it's fallen apart in the last few years, I think.
Never.
No, if anything, they'll do like baseball used to do when the National League and the American League were actual separate entities, and you'll still have like the League's Cup and maybe, I don't know, a championship match between, there's a Campeones Cup already exists between Liga MX and MLS. I'm sure we'll see more stuff like that, but not a full merger.
All right, well, that was fun. I just wanted to see.
MLS is too valuable, so.
All right, Brian, you're up next.
All right, we're going to go fast. Poor one out for Matt Miazga. We'll see you next year. Miles Robinson, it's a shame he hasn't played yet, and I think GGG screwed up massively not putting in Miles in place of Cameron Carter-Vickers. I think that's moronic. Congrats to Rose, who's going to be playing for the USA in the Olympics.
Amen.
U.S. men hosting New Zealand September 10th. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town. Would have loved to have seen that. I can't believe I didn't get to touch on Weston McKennie to FC Cincinnati. How amazing would it be to think that FCC could literally be responsible for 2 of the top 5 transfer purchases in MLS history? So one thought on that is I don't think McKennie is coming here to, take the big payday and relax. I think he's going to be learning a special skill set. He's going to be a dog. He's going to be, learning to be that guy on a team. And he's also putting that big ass target on his back by taking that money and incurring the wrath of USA fans if he chooses to do so. So respect to McKennie if he does come here. I freaking told you so that St. Louis was the worst coach team in Major League Soccer. And finally Lutz got off his butt and actually, so I props to St. Louis. That St. Louis team, like I think I said it in the recap of that game, was the worst setup I've ever seen somebody attack FCC. His comments before and after the game were moronic and like elementary level, and I think they dodged a bullet. So congratulations, St. Louis, for actually identifying that they had a stupid dude as a coach. Props to Luca, Acosta, and Miles Robinson for All-Stars. Boop, boop.
Who are the other 2?
I'm sorry, what did you say? What other 2 what?
I thought we got 2 more All-Stars.
It's
just the 3?
Luca, Acosta,
okay.
Robinson.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
probably
we
Matt
had gotten 2 extras.
Yeah. Now, there were some major snubs this year, I think, because the system isn't East versus West, and it's just one, MLS team. And then also, we have a ridiculous amount of coach picks and commissioner picks and home field bias. Columbus has 5 All-Stars. Not a single one of them was fan nominated. I mean, what a complete sham of the All-Star
Diego
system.
Rossi is not an All-Star. That blew my mind. He's not. No, shouldn't be on there.
Maybe, just maybe, it is something to do with the fact that the All-Star game's at their stadium. Like, there's not complete.
And their head coach is the picking guys.
Yeah. So I think it's a pretty. If you're an FCC fan, who cares? We still got 3 in because we're skilled and talented enough. But if you're like a Red Bull fan or a Charlotte fan or one of these teams in the top 5 of Eastern Conference, you have to be furious that you just got completely screwed out of any picks whatsoever. And I think that's where I'd be furious about.
Nobody cares about the All-Star game.
I care about the honor. I would if I was a player, just the honor of going.
You get a bonus too. Yeah.
Money to go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bonus money to go. So I have to say I love Apollo Home. I love Beyond Fitness, but I would love a beverage sponsor. So I think I may make that like my mission.
We're getting a new brewery here in Harrison. So
hit them up.
And Fretboard opened up here too. So come on, Fretboard.
Yeah. Come on, Celsius. Let's make something happen. Come on, Monster. Let's get some big guys in.
Yeah, my final thoughts. Brian mentioned Rose. Rose is also on a tear for the New York Gotham, New York, New Jersey, whatever the heck they call themselves. If you haven't checked out a Rose game in a while, and now's the time. She is on fire, and it's been a while since she's been rolling in a WSL. So if I was you, I'd check out the next New York game that she plays in and catch yourself up on a little Rose before the Olympics. It'll be a blast, though, to watch her play for the U.S. team, and hopefully she stays just as hot. Thanks for listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We appreciate you, and we will see you right back here after a 6-point week by FC Cincinnati, and Miami goes home crying. See you next week.